Good afternoon, it's a pleasure to be here. So like I say, I'm going to talk about healthy streets. I'm a senior transport planner at TCC, so I'm talking about healthy streets, but it's quite apt. I've just got a new position for Auckland Transport where I'm actually going to be the head of active transport and healthy streets, so it's quite timely when I'm doing this presentation. So yeah, healthy streets is something I'm really passionate about. I think the whole concept of healthy streets and what it's trying to promote is really something that's kind of core to who I am as a transport planner. So I'm really passionate about being here this afternoon. However, healthy streets as a concept wasn't developed by TCC, it's not developed by myself. It was actually developed by someone called Lucy Saunders, who worked for Transport for London. It was developed about 5-6 years ago, and she's kind of now showcasing this across the world. She was presenting in New Zealand last year. She came around and did presentations across the country, and it's now getting a lot of traction in New Zealand in terms of as a concept and how it's applied to transport projects. So it's really to say that Lucy Saunders has kind of trademarked that, and the Healthy Streets, she's actually set up her own company called Healthy Streets Limited, and she's going around promoting that. So it's not something that I've done or not something that TCC's developed. However, healthy streets, in terms of what problem are we trying to solve? If we think of a street environment of a minute, a lot of people would say it works fine. However, we have got a problem. It's not just within street design, but it's more a societal problem. So here we've got an example of the top causes of illness and early death in New Zealand. If you look at number 10 on that list, if you can read it, it's called, it's about low physical activity. So that's a real big issue with society in general. But that's number 10 on the list. But if you look at all of the indicators that are green on that list, kind of flow on from low physical activity. So we've got things like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and being overweight and obesity is number 1. And you can track that back to a number of things, but as a society, essentially we don't move as much as we should. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but one of the reasons is that the environment that we live in isn't geared up for movement and actually being physically active. Over the last 50 years, essentially, the urban environment especially, has been designed for motor vehicles. And we aren't very good at moving around the street environment or the urban environment, and it's been a bit of a self-propelling motion whereby we don't move, so we don't design streets to walk on. Healthy streets is all about kind of trying to change that. That's what's a core philosophy of that. There's lots of other issues in terms of biophilic design, like Claudia mentioned, that kind of flow into this as well. So that's a problem. This is how Healthy Streets is actually going to try and address that. So Healthy Streets as a concept has 10 core indicators about what a healthy street should be and how we actually achieve a healthy street. So I'm going to quickly run through them from the top, going in the clockwise direction. So first of all, everyone feels welcome. It's important to have street environments whereby everyone actually feels welcome in that environment. I've just come up from a session with a disability advisory group, and that was kind of really hit home, whereby streets aren't automatically designed for everyone, and it's really important. That's really at the core of healthy streets. If we've got to be healthy for everyone, not just certain parts of society, that's for everyone in society. Streets are easy to cross. There's a lot of streets that have been designed whereby basic things like crossing a street is a bit of a chore. It takes a long time and it's not safe and it's not easy to do. A great example of that is Cameron Road, for example. If you try and walk across Cameron Road, it's a really difficult thing to do, but it's quite a basic thing that you should be able to do in a street environment. Shade and shelter. So that comes back to biophilic design in terms of how that shade and shelter is provided. It's important that if it's raining, for example, you're not going to walk down the street if you haven't got shelter from that rain. And then also in the summer, you're not going to want to walk down that street if you're overheating and you haven't got shade from the sun. Also, places to stop and rest. So that goes back to design for everyone. Not everyone in society is able to walk a long distance. You've got elderly, you've got people who are slightly less mobile. So it's important to have resting points within that street environment as well. Also noise as well. So streets can lend themselves to be noisy environments. That means people aren't relaxed in those environments, and people don't want to interact with those environments where there's a lot of noise going on. So there's a lot of things you can do with street design to dampen that noise down a bit. People choose to walk and cycle. So that's about providing safe cycle infrastructure and walking infrastructure, so that people actually have a basic ability to walk and cycle down a street environment. And we've got people feel safe. So that's talking about surveillance and SEPTED issues, so crime prevention through environmental design. So it's talking about active frontages and making sure that's safe. People feel safe in that environment, especially in hours of darkness and when there's less people on that street. Also, things to do and see. So it's important that streets are interesting places to spend time. It's pointless having a street design that's really functional if it's not going to make people interested and want to spend time within that environment. People feel relaxed, so that comes back to the noise issue to some extent, but if you feel relaxed in an environment, you want to spend more time there. If you feel relaxed in the street environment, you're going to spend more time there. There's a big difference between how relaxed you feel, for example, walking down Hewlett's Road or Cameron Road, as to if you're walking down the beach. A lot of people feel relaxed walking on the beach, so you want to spend more time there, whereas if you're walking along Cameron Road and you don't feel relaxed, then you're going to spend less time there. Also, clean air. That's something that's really come from London. Air cleanliness and air pollution is a big factor in London. And it's quite a hot topic of a minute, but that's not to say it's not any less important in New Zealand. So we have 10 indicators that healthy streets promote. So how do we turn those indicators into an actual street environment? So here we've got a nice little example. So here we've got a high street. It could be any street. I quite like to think it looks a bit like Cameron Road. So when I go through this example, I think of Cameron Road in my head. So you've got a high street there that's quite bland. So we're looking to turn that into what we call a healthy street. So the first thing you could do would be to widen the footpaths, encourages more people to walk, lower the speed limit so people feel more comfortable, and add in a few more crossing points. Second thing would be to put in more planting and shelter. Like I say, rain cover and shelter from the sun. There's a few ways you could do that, but verandas are a good way of doing that. Also have more resting areas. Like I say, not everyone's able to walk, so putting in rest areas that are actually attractive is really important. And then we go on to the passive surveillance. So adding more surveillance into that street environment makes it a lot more attractive. Adding in a safe cycleway there, adding in a bit more furniture, making it a bit more of an attractive environment. We've also got better active frontages as well. So having coffee shops with seats outside is a good way of bringing that inside activity outside and making the street environment a lot more active. And voila, you've got a final street design, which is a big difference to what we had originally. However, that might seem like a long, expensive process to go through for every street in the city. However, there's lots of incremental changes that you can make that aren't expensive or particularly difficult to achieve. So on the left-hand side there, you've got a photograph of some simple planting that people have put outside their shop frontages. It adds to that attractiveness of the environment and makes the street a little bit more interesting. So simple things like that you can do to improve that street environment with little effort. I'm not sure if it comes out very well, but on that right-hand side, on the very right-hand side, you've got an example from London where they trialled a separated cycleway. So they've simply put in planter boxes and armadillo-type separation, and that was to trial it and see how it worked. That was relatively quick and easy to do. And then in the middle picture is just the after that. So we trialled it, it worked well, so we went and redid that and retrofitted it with more permanent infrastructure with concrete separation. So it's all about incremental changes and easy changes you can make. So now looking into what TCC, what we as an organisation are doing to enact this. So a project I'm looking at is updating the infrastructure development code, the transport provisions within that, and we've embedded the concepts and indicators from healthy streets into what we're doing. So our indicators are slightly different, but we have embedded that philosophy of healthy streets into the principles that we've adopted for that project. Trying to bring it back to water-sensitive design. In there, we've got a principle about environmental sustainability, and Claudia has been working on that project, and she's been really spearheading the water-sensitive design and making sure that project, so the Transport Provisions project, really embeds water-sensitive design as part of that. So as a result of that, we've got a dedicated principle about environmental sustainability, and that's been embedded as part of the work we're doing with the design standards. So this is very much a work in progress. We're looking to have this project completed early next year, and we're in the process of having the design standards ready next year. However, there's also a toolkit. So that's all well, the IDC is already very well and good for new streets. However, there's a toolkit that Healthy Streets promotes, and that's looking at before and after. So essentially there's 31 metrics which essentially cover those 10 indicators I was talking about. And essentially it's a checklist that street designers go through to see, looking at each of those metrics and essentially score on them. There's a scoring system. So street designers give a before score in terms of before they've done anything with that street, what's the score, and then they do the same process after they've done their design or when designs are well progressed, and they come out with another score as well. And the idea being that on the left-hand side, you've got two different scores, so you can see how your street has performed before you've done anything, and then after you've done something as well. In London, it's worked quite well, and we're starting to do it over here. Street designers are quite competitive, engineers are quite competitive, and what we've found in London is that they've been competitive with their scoring, so we've tried to get as high a score with their Healthy Streets indicator as possible, and we've tried to create the biggest difference from before and after. So that's worked really well in London, and we're hoping to adopt it, and we have started to adopt it in TCC with a few projects as well. So that's what we're looking to do as well. It's quite cool. So yeah, in terms of that's what we're doing, and that's in terms of Healthy Streets. So yeah, happy to answer any questions.